This is Kevin Flood, and we're back speaking with Neil Fretwell of the Vintage Hot Rod Association here in the UK. Neil, if I said to you, you had an unlimited checkbook, and what car would you buy?
There's a difficult one. Like most people in the car world, there's just so many cars, so little time. There's a car I really like, and I'm racking my brains to think of the guy's name at the moment. But it's a 39 Merc Cabriolet, convertible that was stored for many years, and there was a feature on it in Rod and Custom. Rodder's Journal a few years back. I think the guy got killed at the lakes in the early 50s, and his Custom just got parked up. And I just cannot think of the guy's name at the moment, but that's one like an early style Custom, preferably sort of 1936 through to about 39 with the wide stud pattern wheels. That's something about those appeal to me. I do like a Phaeton, but it would almost definitely be something from the Ford mark. I know my station in life, and I'm a Ford man through and through.
Mine, I think, I went to the Peterson Museum a couple of years ago, and they had the Roadster display on there, and they had the Doane Spencer Roadster in there.
Oh yeah.
And think, I think he did that in 1949 or something like that, and that is just, I didn't. My wife had to pull me away from it. I was there for quite a while looking at that, and it was, they had a whole bunch of them there actually. They had the red one that's in Bruce Meyer's collection, and one or two others there as well. And it was, I was just lucky. I sort of lucked out. It was Roadster display week or something, and it was a bit of a religious experience, that one.
Yeah, it's an around the Peterson's Museum. We was there one time, and much like you say, there was the Doane Spencer car, and there was a few cars from I think the Frank Mac T was there, and there was a few other cars. And as we rounded the corner, there was Ed Roth's Outlaw up on a plinth. And now, whilst I like the Ed Roth stuff, it's not the stuff I normally go for, but for a moment there, you got the feeling of what people must have thought in 58, 59 when he bought that car out, and how extreme it was compared to those other cars,
Yeah.
So for me, that day, I would want to come home with Ed Roth's Outlaw. The next day, like you say, it would be one of the earlier cars, something like Iskis T or something like that. It's just so many great cars from the history of hot rodding and customising. Almost impossible. I mean, another favourite of mine, going a little bit later in style, is the Polynesian, the Oldsmobile, the sectioned Oldsmobile.
Oh, yep.
Yep, absolutely stunning car. I can't find a fault with that car anywhere. That's high on my list of I like. It's just so many different cars to choose from, really.
Well, one of my favourites, I was lucky enough, my wife managed to get me into the GM Heritage Collection. Sorry, I swirled at you there, but it's a GM.
Well, we've got a GM on the drive, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's true. And I managed to actually touch the Y-Job, the 1938 concept car. And it's just a magical thing. And you can see all the other cars that have come afterwards where they've stolen little bits here and there from that concept was kind of unbelievable. But no, that's good. Can you give me a little bit of history on the VHRA?
Yeah, no problem at all. The VHRA's got roots going back about 25 years now. It was originally in 1991, and I'm going to mention the low flyers yet again. There was Clive Greasel and John Blackmore, who were sort of the founding fathers of the low flyers. More stuff with their cars rather than just parking up at shows and attending hot rod events. So they formed the Vintage Hot Rod Association. All that consisted of really was Clive wrestling you for a $5 to buy a T-shirt, get a membership card, and wonder what was going to happen after that. But there was a bunch of us wandering around in the T-shirts that weekend at the Nationals. But nothing really more came from it. I believe Clive got close to 100 or so members, but it was probably the wrong time. We were all too young to sort of pin down trying to organise things properly. And it just slipped by the wayside. And it was around 20 years later that legislation in this country was getting tighter. It was getting harder to register cars. The Model A Owners Club were sneering at us, and I heard rumours that they were only going to start help with registering matching number cars, which we know is a near impossible thing with Model A's because the engines wore out after a few years. So well, in for a penny, in for a pound. Got in touch with the DVLA and put forward the VHRA name. It was the only name I could think of, and I thought it would give it a bit of its own nostalgia as well. And they accepted us on their list of clubs that can help with registrations. So I thought, best get something proper in line. So I got my local car club, the Sidewinders. I said to them, do you think it will work if we do the Vintage Hot Rod Association again? They were up for it. So using pictures of their cars, built a website, got some T-shirts printed, got some cards printed, and put it out there. And I thought we'd peak around about 50 members or so, 50, 60 members. And I thought it'd all be people I know or we've known over the years, lots of people who were members of the VHRA first time round. And then before I knew it, we were up to 100 members within 3 months, which really, really surprised me. And it just kept growing. And after a short while, I decided it was time that we needed an event to call our own. We were tagging on to a couple of other bits and pieces, things like the Bugatti Owners Club meetings and the Hot Rod Drags and the Nostalgia Nationals, but we were just a small part of a bigger event. And we actually booked Prescott for ourselves.
I saw that. Yeah.
For your American listeners who don't know Prescott, as I said, it belongs to the Bugatti Owners Club. They've owned it since the 30s, and their racetrack is essentially the drive to the house at the top of the hill. And they hire it out 30 times a year, and we were lucky enough to hire it.
I was going to say, for the guys actually that will be listening to this, think Goodwood type thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah, think Goodwood, but think a lot more laid back, a lot more low key. Just a really nice bunch of guys. They're into their cars. It's clearly they've got to cover their expenses and that, but it doesn't feel like they're trying to wring the money out of you. It's a real nice feeling down there. And like I say, they let us hire the hill, and we were planning to thrash up there. But whilst we was doing that, we got an email in from the council at Pendine Sands, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are aware of what we get up to at Pendine.
Well, actually, they're actually not, to be honest, I don't think.
Oh, really?
And I think part of this, the audience we got here, this would be a nice introduction to Pendine as well during this conversation, because what we're trying to do really with this is the guys run a show over in the States, and they're really interested in what we're doing on this side, and it will be introducing a lot of things that we do over here that they've not heard about yet.
Okay.
So I know Pendine popped up on Hemmings, so some of them will see it. But
I saw it on Hemmings, and I know it's been on the Ham as well, although it doesn't see a whole lot of traffic when it pops up on the Ham. And we do get orders for merchandising from the States as well, so I know some people are seeing us. But, well, a brief history of Pendine Sands then. They'll be aware of Daytona and the speed trials that went on there. Well, round about the same sort of time over here, we had Pendine Sands. And for 3 years in the 1920s, between 1924 and 1927, all bar a brief hiatus when the land speed record moved up the country to somebody else, to Henry Seagrave, Pendine Sands was the go-to place for speed, where Parry Thomas and Malcolm Campbell were battling it out with their cars between 150 and 170 miles an hour. I think the record varied over those few years. And there was a tragic accident where Parry Thomas was killed vying for the record in 1927. And all bar a few record attempts here and there in lower classes, the Sands went quiet for a while.
I'll just add in there, actually, Neil, they did a reproduction of his car, didn't they, and ran it down the sand there a few months back.
Well, of the Bluebird, yes, the 25 Bluebird. That was on a 151 mile an hour record. They didn't run it that fast.
No.
I was lucky enough to go down there, and I think if they went 30 miles an hour, they were lucky. But it was a great day to
was that
see
the
it
week
down
before your event, or was that?
It was a week or two later.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But so anyway, I received an email here from the council saying, "Would you like to come down and put an event on the beach?"
Wow.
So immediately I asked, "Are you asking us to put a show on, or are you saying we can race on the beach?" And I got the greatest email of my life back saying, "You can do what you like." And so that was that. It was, and then the next 9 months of my life were taken up with trying to find out about all the ins and outs and the legalities of racing on a beach and finding someone to insure us, someone to license us. I mean, you have to get these things signed off by the Secretary of State.
Oh, wow.
It goes a long way. I mean, he's got somebody doing it for him. It's not him personally, but, you know, the official documents are all sort of covered by him. And then it just went daft after Pendine, really. I mean, we're getting what the Americans had on the dry lakes and everything else back in the 30s, but we're only just getting it now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like to think of we're recreating something that never happened.
No, you're right.
It should have been going on the beach, and you know, back in the 20s and 30s, there should have been groups of guys doing what the guys in California were doing, driving across the country or, you know, across the state to find somewhere where they could time their cars.
I think we just didn't have the cash back then. I think I suppose we're coming up to the war, and it was just coming out of a recession and that, I guess, and it was probably just a different time for us, really, wasn't it? And
I mean, we took a lot longer to come out of the Second World War than the Americans did. I mean, with my mum and dad, you know, I was born in '66, and you know, my mum and dad often referred to the fact that you know, things were still on ration. I mean, just a few years before that.
I was born in '59, and you went back to saying your dad was a Ted. My dad was a Ted with a BSA Gold Flash and a Velocette and all sorts. So and we got carted around in a motorbike and sidecar when I was a kid as well. So that's I'm with you on that one. But no, I agree with you, and I think also with the state of the Bonneville salt flats at the minute, there's more publicity around some of the speed events at other places now as well, aren't there?
Definitely, yes. We've had a few people inquire about running their cars or bikes down on the beach, you know, and as a one-off thing, it's quite an expensive undertaking because you need, as I say, you know, you need these things signed off from all sorts of legal level, and because the beach actually belongs to two different parties, the council and the MOD, they both want their cut, you know, and neither of them will give you a discount for the fact that, you know, you've already paid one or the other, but so as an individual thing, like I say, it's an expensive pastime, but we go down there. Last year we put 160 odd cars on the beach.
I was just going to say that,
It was, you know, it's a hell of a feat, really, and it's not me sort of bigging myself up. It's a nod to the club, because I honestly don't think there's any other club, certainly not in this country, that could do what we do down there, because it's an all hands on deck affair. From, you know, I know I can turn around at any point and ask anybody to go and do something for us that makes the event work, be it taking down fences or putting a piece of rope out or even running and getting somebody a bacon sandwich. You know, it's a real team effort down there.
That's great. We're going to need to take a little break now. We'll be back on the Classic Car Show right after these messages.